Hello again, podcast listeners, and welcome to episode 23 of the Cambodia VR Project podcast. I'm Tom Nickel, with you from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It's Friday, March 16th here in Phnom Penh. It's hot. It's always hot in Phnom Penh, sometimes more than others, but it's always hot. It's also noisy. It's very clear I am not recording this podcast in a studio. You hear background noises all the time. There's the street noises and the tuk-tuks, motor scooters. Yeah, there's one. Frequently come up, and I guess we'll just count that as part of the local color of the place where this podcast is being originated. It is a podcast about a project. That's why I called it the Cambodia VR Project Podcast. And what that project is about is helping a prominent arts organization here in Phnom Penh called Cambodian Living Arts start to use certain new media technologies in order to touch more people around the world than they're able to right now. In particular, 360 video and VR is what I've been talking to about folks here at Cambodian Living Arts for about a year now. This is my third extended stay in Phnom Penh in the past year. And over that time, they've never thought I was crazy and told me to go away, but it's always, until fairly recently, been a case of, we know we got to get to that sometime, but really there's no way we can deal with it now. The sense of now is the time has emerged. Variety of factors, but Cambodian Living Arts is ready to move on this now. And I missed the podcast yesterday for reasons that will be coming to soon enough, but it started out with a very important project-related event. Again, I'm now going back to Thursday, where I spoke with their head fundraiser. Cambodian Living Arts, a pure, right through to the bone Cambodian organization, is incorporated in New York. It helps for tax purposes. Many of the donors are in the U.S., and they've always seen themselves as having an international focus. That is to say, what they're doing successfully by using the arts to help a nation heal, to help people find their own voice and be able to make a living as an artist. There's across the board, from micro to macro, Cambodian Living Arts has that kind of vision, and they are doing it. And now they're ready to see if VR can play some role in it, and that's what I spoke about with the fundraiser on Thursday morning. The whole meeting was pretty much set up to have her listen to me kind of lay out my ideas. And I've been doing it long enough now that I can be pretty succinct. I can talk about, kind of talk the way she needs to hear it. And furthermore, it just so happens that one of my oldest friends in the world, Frank White, who teaches an online course for Harvard on fundraising, has had me as a guest speaker for a couple of years now, and at least twice a year, each semester, speaking on VR and fundraising. So I actually do have quite an appreciation for the topic. I'm fairly knowledgeable in its brief history, and I'm able to lay it out there pretty clearly the way fundraisers need to hear it. I think the meeting went very well. The most obvious sort of thing we talked about is simply the way that this recent splurge of VR took off with this empathy machine idea, which was when a 360 video got made a couple of years ago from the perspective of a 10-year-old girl in a Syrian refugee camp. And when a room full of wealthy donors, there's good old Phnom Penh background noise. I'm sure that came through on the recording. When a room full of wealthy donors experienced that, it's called Sidra's World, immersively in the headsets, they felt they were there. They felt that sense of presence. And they gave a lot of money. They gave more money than was predicted. And thus the idea was born that VR creates empathy. And out of that empathy comes a concern and a desire to take action. So VR is deeply in the fundraising circuit now. And as I've mentioned before on these podcasts, I don't think that the notion of VR as an empathy machine is quite that simple, but I think that there is certainly some truth in it. I think it's really a valuable tool for fundraisers, particularly the style of fundraising that many organizations, including Cambodia Living Arts, does, where a finite number of individuals are gathered together in a single location, where they'd be in a great position to, as part of the live event, experience something about what that organization is doing in that immersive presence sort of style. So that's one thing, and I got plenty of other things, and I've spoken about them before, from art galleries and VR to public kiosks and plenty more. But there we go. And I think what's going to happen is that, as she said, they'll kind of be talking to CLA and thinking and pulling things together and coming up with some sort of plan for the next phase of fundraising on and around June, which seems good. I mean, things are just moving along very nicely, because some of the people who I have been working with here to be able to do good work when I'm not here, people associated with the Khmer Magic Music Bus and this older gentleman who I met, Svai Sanuch, they will be able to not only do some work on their own and improve their skills, but I hope work with a professional video organization, Chanla Media, who Cambodia Living Arts works with, and that together with a couple of people who I have out there and Chanla, maybe by June they'll be ready to make that first little piece. I have suggested that it be something kind of modest and simple, something that Chanla would be able to pull off for a couple $1,000s, and that I will fund that. Maybe that'll happen this summer. Maybe things are moving along. Meanwhile, here's my friend Eric off trying to gather content for a number of public kiosk situations that he's involved in. And I don't know, I think things are definitely happening, and I think I've played a little role in catalyzing some of the 360 video related things to find a home and then establish the people producing it as real, ground floor content providers. I think that's going to happen. I'm feeling pretty good about things. I have some important details to figure out as I wrap up this phase. How much can I extend towards Svai to make sure that he has a complete viable setup from cameras to computer to be able to actually do the job? Another amazing young man who I met here, Sam Nong Nu, who is an incredibly talented chape player. I think he himself is great content. We need to record him performing, and I'd like to be able to support him at some level. I haven't figured out what that is yet. Maybe it's that every time we record him, we pay him something so he can feel he's actually getting paid for the great works and performing that he's doing. I haven't gotten that one figured out yet. And a couple other details that I got to figure out about leaving things behind, but it's coming together pretty nicely. In fact, another amazing source of content I went to right after the fundraiser meeting. I'm still back at yesterday now, and it was a Khmer cooking demonstration. Really just a practice effort. The wife of one of the main people at CLA, I know him, and I've met her. She's a Khmer cooking expert, not only doing it, but knowing the cultural tradition and the story behind every little aspect of the preparation and the presentation. And she has an infectious enthusiasm and can just talk about it as she's working. And I think that she is just made for a cooking show. And in fact, she's working with someone to try to do something like what has been established over the past number of years. One of the most popular kind of genre, I guess you'd say, in TV right now is cooking shows, and they're trying to make her into a star of one of them. We'll see. I've been wondering what would happen if we recorded her at work in 360. Because there's a lot of cooking shows, and it might be tough to get noticed, but suppose there was one done in 360 video. That might be a little bit easier to get attention. So that's what I was experimenting with. Sarin and Nak, Chef Nak is what she calls herself, and her company is Mahop Khmer Cuisine. In addition to their place in Phnom Penh, also have a little kind of river house along the Mekong River outside of the center part of town, where they serve as a service and charge for it to tourists and people who come through. The whole Khmer dining experience, from meeting and hearing about all the food and dancing, it's quite memorable, and they derive some income that way. But their real hope is to be able to be producing this show. And I hadn't scouted the location. I hadn't been out to the place before. I had no idea what I was walking into. First of all, I got to say, it's like the Garden of Eden. I mean, you come up out of Phnom Penh, which is not a pretty city, and National Road 6 isn't a beautiful road, but 10, 20 minutes outside of the heart of the city, you just kind of pull off that main highway onto a little track, and after not too long, you're into a whole different little area. It's wooded, it's shaded, it's very nice, and it's along the Mekong River, and that's where they have this place where it's theirs, and they serve the dinners there, and also produce the cooking show from there. I did it. I don't know how it's going to work out. I still haven't looked at it. The challenge was light. As I've said before, 360 Video wants light and Cambodians want shade. And if I had just had one spotlight, I think I could have nailed it. She works, there's a sink right at a window, and there's nice light coming through the window. So one experiment that I've tried is, half the 360 is going to be the outside. Yeah, not that informative, but pretty. And then the other half is going to be Chef Knack. And this very first thing that I recorded was her in food prep phase. It was taking the raw material she had and chopping it up and talking about what she was doing and how she selected the various things. I mean, she's just great talking. And we'll see. I think that the light coming through the window is going to show her face very nicely. But the work area down below, that's what I wish I had a spotlight on. And I think it's going to be too dark, and I don't think it's going to quite work. But we'll see. One of the the reason that I haven't checked it out yet is that, all morning long, there's something going on in my stomach. I couldn't quite figure it out. And here I am now, after the preparation, she was making lunch. That's what she was doing. She's making a really, really nice sweet and sour soup and a salad. And I'm kind of not feeling that great, but look at this. Oh, it's so great. And so I stayed for lunch, and there's some other people came, and it was a very nice social occasion. And I ate what I could, and I was feeling on the queasy side, well before this meal, and I put more food in me, and it wasn't going well. And I got back to the room, and by the time I got back to my room, another half, 3/4 of an hour after, eating lunch, I knew I was in trouble. There was something really wrong in there. It wasn't just I had an upset tummy. I was starting to get those kind of aching, shooting pains coming out, and I've been around. I didn't flip out. I never lost my perspective. What I realized was there's some cooties got in there. Something got in that needs to get out, and it's just a matter of I'm just going to have to lie down here in pure stomach misery. It's the worst as far as I'm concerned. And then I'll just, every time I get a chance, I'll walk up and see if now's the time, and eventually after a couple hours it was, and I barfed. And it all came out, and I didn't feel great afterwards, but I felt a relief. The whole problem was there was something in there that did not want to be in there, and it had to come out, and it did come out. Of course, afterwards I was pretty dehydrated. I was really tired, and I had to really slowly and carefully put anything back into me. So dinner last night was about a half a can of ginger ale. And I was so tired that it was okay. And I went to bed pretty early and got a good night's sleep. I know that's not project related, but it really affected the fact that I wasn't able to do any more work on the project that day. I had some other things I'd want to do also. But anyway, that was the biggest road bump I've come to so far. And I guess if that's the worst that happened, so I'm doing pretty well. So I woke up this morning feeling okay. I didn't have high energy. The people at the front desk noticed it. Safwan, my young man down there who I really, really like, he took one look at me and kind of said, "Mr. Tom, you don't look that good." And but I was very careful. I just had kind of toast and a little bit of eggs, or no coffee, more ginger ale at breakfast. And I think I'm on the comeback trail. Everything isn't perfect. And I'm going to have to really, really pace myself, because I got some challenging physical things in the days ahead going around Angkor Wat in the heat. But anyway, I did experience that. I got through it as I knew I would. And today, really, fortunately, I was able to take it easy. I had wanted to go computer shopping with Svi, and I just didn't feel up to that, and so I didn't. And maybe it's because things aren't clear enough in my mind yet, or yeah, I don't want to talk about reverse causality that way. Um, since things aren't clear in my mind yet, maybe it's not so bad that I wasn't able to go computer shopping this morning. So that's how that went. What I did do was I set up a 360 interview. I haven't done so many formal 360 casts like I did last time I was here this time. And there's a young woman who is the kind of organizer of the Khmer language learning study group that I go to every Sunday late afternoon. And it's just such fun. People, expats from countries all over the world, come and meet this all volunteer staff of just total awesomeness people to learn Khmer in a social group, having fun at it, setting in which after lesson is over we all have dinner together, and it's just one of my happy experiences here in Phnom Penh. Well, I got in touch with her a while back and said, you just seem such an interesting person. Could I do a 360 interview with you? Here's what I mean by that. Could I do that with you? And she agreed and agreed enthusiastically because she likes talking and likes people. And she picked a place that turned out to be just right. It's I don't know how to describe it, kind of a restaurant, hangout place. Not just a tiny little place, but I guess they serve some food. In the evenings, they're a bar, and it's just a small little chill sort of hangout place by a couple who's from Brunei. I mean, I've never met anybody from Brunei before. The food they serve is Malay, too. There's a little room upstairs that is just the type of space that 360 Video loves. It's a small enclosed space that has kind of neat things on the wall and all that kind of stuff. And so I figured out a way to set up there, and we did our interview. We probably talked 15, 20 minutes, which is a long time to be doing 360 recording. And she got really into speaking from her heart about why she does this and what she cares about the most, and other types of projects she wants to get involved in, being able to be a listening ear for young women in Cambodia who have no one to talk to, organizing music exhibitions in addition to her language learning group. I mean, she is just a give sort of person. And all of that was just, it came out, I think, pretty well. I'm transferring those files right now, so I'll find out for sure. That's what we did. I finished up. We had lunch together there and continued talking. She's given me some more ideas. I mean, perhaps there are psychologists of whom I know a lot, because my last job was directly involved in licensure and training and whatnot for psychologists in California, which has the most psychologists of anywhere in the country and the world, some sort of a program where psychologists could come here and support someone like Srimam, her name's Srimam, doing her work with young children here, just with young women here. So just another idea, another interview. I really came back to my room after that and took a long nap because I got to take care of myself right now. I'm up now trying to get organized for my next phase. I only have 2 more days in Phnom Penh before I take off for Siem Reap and Angkor Wat, and then after that the unknown Laos. I got to pack carefully. I'm going to leave a bag of stuff here. I don't want to go carrying everything around with me. So what stays and what goes, that's kind of what I'm working on now. And that is, as far as the project goes, the wrap for tonight. The wrap on episode 23 of the Cambodian VR project. Tom Nickel in Phnom Penh. Bye for now.